Welcome back, friends. This heaviness, this hardening of the heart in response to God's goodness. In Egypt mythology, so, hardening of Pharaoh's heart. A hardened heart was one of dishonor. So again, it takes, just a little bit of, scholarship or whatever. And so the judgment was against not just the gods of Egypt, right? But he's coming, the Lord's taking something that Pharaoh should have known, and from his own mythology, if you will, that the heart at death should weigh like a feather. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen some of the hieroglyphs, but right, and if it's heavy, then you're not going to have a good time, as it were, in the afterlife. So his heavy heart is not just against the gods of Egypt, but it's also against the unjust actions of Pharaoh. Pharaoh throwing the babes into the river. Mm-hmm. Moses was spared, but others were not. The institution of slavery, and so forth. So the Nile, and it's the lifeblood to the economy, and was turned to blood, and it was the first sign. And yes, it recalled the murder of the boys at the birth of Noah.
Moses.
And Moses, yes. And with Moses, we now have a nation being formed. Exodus, also known as the Book of Names in Hebrew, from the opening line. We have the four main acts in Exodus. We have a call of Moses. So God saves Moses in the drowning of the boys by Pharaoh and at the burning bush. So the call of Moses, if you will, has two episodes to that. Mm. The second is the signs and wonders. Free the people for what? For worship. Mm. Let my people go so that they may worship me. That was the initial call, and it was actually only going to be for 3 days. That was the initial opening to Pharaoh. Then there's the covenant on Mount Sinai, the Decalogue, and of course the apostasy of Israel and the golden calf. We all wish that wouldn't have occurred, right? At least I do. I read it.
Right.
Every time you read it, you hope there's a new. No, we still have it. So the main themes: name. So we have genealogy. The midwives are named, but not Pharaoh. He's only known as Pharaoh. Mm-hmm. And we have the name of Yahweh, right? Who should tell Israel that who sent me, right? It was Yahweh, his name. Know, the word K-N-O-W, that there is a one true God. He has a covenant with Israel. Remember that business with Pharaoh saying, I do not know Joseph, and I do not know your God. I do not know Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And then serve. So we have name, know, and then serve, to worship and be in relationship with one true God. Okay. Do we want to stop there for a minute, or?
Sure. Yeah. I'm good with anything.
Do you have thoughts in that regard, or?
Yeah, I just like that idea of to know God, and how often I don't know. I'd like it. It really is something where I like that you did serve as well, where in order to know God, there does have to be this worshipful, relational aspect to it. And that comes after receiving a name from God, where we love him because he first loved us. And this idea of like, God does the work and already has done the work on our behalf, that we might be in relationship with him. And I love it.
That's right. And in the author, And so I'll say King David, because that's my opinion. That these signs and wonders in the land of Ham, these miracles are listed. So these miracles are listed not according to the chronological appearance in Exodus, but in terms of Hebraic poetry. So the author is taking some license in creating the condensation of,
the summary.
Yes, he's summarizing up to, and then let's throw in the prophets there for good measure, to maybe to I'm exaggerating, but that's where Maccabees is. Maccabees is about right here. So he's summarizing all of this history in prophets in masterfully. Okay. The Lord worked. Yes, the Lord worked the mighty signs. That's what you just said, Micah. It's his action. He rescued his people and he prospered them materially. As they left Egypt, right, they had gold and silver. They go into a land flowing with milk and honey. So the first request from Pharaoh, I said that, was not total freedom, but a 3-day retreat, as we would call it these days. Lord just wanted a 3-day worship retreat with him out in the wilderness.
Right.
Maybe they're going to blow the shofar and make merry in the Lord. And according to some biblical scholars, I know I've said this in the past, only a small fraction of the Hebrews left Egypt. Most stayed because they just couldn't wrap their minds around, I don't know how to swim, and there's that Red Sea problem.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have an RV, and we're going out in the desert,
Yeah.
and maybe don't want to eat the lamb,
and it's the unknown, and so fearful. Like there's so much just question and doubt in that when God's encouraging us, and it makes me think of like the Hebrews that stayed are like those of us who choose to stay in our sin, or just don't trust that God is actually better, or the fullness of Christ is really as good as it's promised.
That's right. And the longer we stay in our sin, the stupider we become.
Right.
And then when we are around those who have a righteous life, we become repulsed by it. That's an often result.
Yeah.
So an oft quote I've heard is if you want to see the miraculous, you must be willing to do the ridiculous. And from a certain point of view, the Passover was pretty ridiculous.
Right.
And certainly it was definitely miraculous. So let's pick up in the next series of episode a little bit of the Passover. Awesome. Till then, my friends, Fides et Ratio.